welcome to my video. I want to take some time to introduce myself and let you know exactly what I do. My name is David Hedrick. I'm the owner of Aerial Edge LLC, and we provide drone services. This all started a couple years ago. I started, flying drones for quite a while, and let me turn the volume up here. So I've been flying drones for quite some time, and as drones technology started to progress, I started realizing that these definitely had uses in industries. And the industries are still very young, but they're evolving very quickly. So a lot of industries are being revolutionized by the use of drones. In the past, if you needed to do any type of aerial inspections, it required helicopters and aircraft. Number one, large aircrafts, they move quickly, and helicopters are very expensive to fly. So this is a way that we can get a lot of stuff done with this relative safety, and at reduced cost. So reducing the cost is significant for a lot of reasons. The drones don't put off as much emissions as a aircraft would. It's safer for a drone to fly around than it would be to helicopter around, especially in infrastructure. So it's really starting to revolutionize some industries. So in order to do this, drones are still fairly new. So a lot of laws are being made on them still. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of up in the air. The FAA's made a lot of regulations in regards to drones because they're so popular. There's a massive amount of aircraft entering the national airspace. There's definitely has to be regulations, and people have to know what's going on. So in order to do anything besides recreational, so if you're flying for any reason besides fun, it doesn't even matter if there's a monetary exchange at all. But if you're flying for any reason besides having fun, you have to be licensed through the FAA, and you have to take what's called a Part 107, which is your part that regulates drone use, Part 107 test. So Part 107 license, basically once you take the test and you pass the test, then you get licensed as a Part 107. They call it the Remote Commercial Pilot. So Remote Commercial Pilot allows you to fly what they call a UAS, or Unmanned Aerial System, or drone. So once you do that, then you can actually fly for monetary compensation. So if you're working for an infrastructure company as a drone pilot, you would have to have this. Same thing if you open your own business. So inevitably, what turned out as a hobby, I ended up going into a business. Now I still work full time, but I'm doing this part time until a point where the business, is doing very well, and I might eventually leave my job. But that's going to be a long time from now. So at the moment, I'm just doing this. So I want to show you a couple things here. So we're doing a screen recording here. So in order to, this is my website, just kind of overviewing some of the different things that can be done. So a lot of industries like roofing, construction, mining, infrastructure, basic aerial imaging, which includes doing real estate imaging, agricultural imaging, and agriculture is a whole other aspect that I'm not going to get too much into right now. Wildlife management, insurance, pre-insurance, and disaster recovery. The roof inspections, those are done in visual and thermal. Thermal allows you to see hidden damage. Infrastructure inspections are a big one. Power lines. Used to be that a lineman in a helicopter had to fly, or a photographer in a helicopter had to fly and take video of power lines to do power line inspections, looking for damage, looking for leaking insulators, any arc over. That's extremely expensive. So tower, being able to inspect towers and lighting on towers, it's another thing that drones can do very, very easily, and saves a lot of money. Being able to fly up underneath bridges and look at the infrastructure on there, do inspections, take video, take photos, pass those along to the engineers. Then, if they see that something that stands out, then they can do a further inspection where they actually get a person, an engineer out there, and actually do it. But it's a good way for inspections to be done and lower costs. Some of the other aspects that 3D mapping, orthomosaics. We're using drones to do 3D mapping. Some of those are being done with just a basic overview map. Some are being done with GNSS, RTK services, where they're actually using centimeter GPS in order to do a very defined, very accurate map with a lot of data. Those are normally done with a surveyor, because you have to be licensed as a surveyor to show boundaries or setbacks from boundaries. So if you're not licensed, you don't do that, but you can work with a surveyor in order to do that using ground control points. So there's a lot of different aspects of it. So in order to be licensed, obviously you have to go through the FAA. The FAA actually has a site. They explain this, how you have to do it. There's a lot of courses out there. I used a course called the Pilot Institute. A great course. It was inexpensive. They walk you through. They teach you the material instead of having to brain dump and memorize everything. So you learn the material. Then you have to go through one of the FAA's proctors. They're all over the country. A couple of companies that offer them, and they also have substations where they have the actual testing on site. You go take a computerized testing after you pay your fee and start your application. Once it comes back, you take your test, fill the application out, and then they send you a temporary airman certificate, and then eventually you'll get an actual hard card just like a pilot would in the mail. Obviously, business-wise, there's other aspects that are involved. Business license, basically my company is a limited liability corporation. That was one start, so you have all of your process to do that: business license, tax exemptions, websites. The other aspect that most people don't consider, and they think a drone, it's just a little drone, can't really do any damage, right? Well, if you're doing power line inspections and you end up crashing the drone, or the drone goes haywire because of magnetic interference and lands in the substation, shorts out a bunch of stuff, you have a big power outage, that can get really expensive. So my insurance policy, like I carry $1 million policy, it's not a lot of money to do it. Of course it costs money, but it's cheap insurance, and in the end, you're covered in case something happens. A lot of jobs you have to have at least $1 million worth of liability insurance to cover you. A lot of other aspects that you need, PPE, stuff like that. So basically, let me make a breakdown of kind of what drones are doing in the industry nowadays. So this is the FAA site. They go over the basics of what you have to do to get your Part 107 license. Once you get that, you have registration. Drones do have to be registered. This is the registration page for mine. This is actually for a waiver. So with the registration, I'm flying under Part 107. All your drones have to be registered individually. So it doesn't matter what they weigh. We're not flying under recreational rules. We can't fly at nighttime without a waiver. There's a lot of stipulations when you're flying commercially. So I can still fly under my recreational license and fly at night if I'm flying for fun. It's kind of hard to differentiate fun and training since I'm making money with this. So I was able to go through, and actually didn't take long, and I was able to get a certificate of waiver. And I'm going to blur my address out here, but the certificate of waiver allows me to fly at night commercially. I have airspace authorizations that are actually pending currently to fly in restricted airspace. It's another aspect of the thing you have to learn. You got to learn airspace. You got to learn how to read aeronautical charts, much like a pilot does. METARs, CTAF frequencies, who to contact, what's going on with them. So there's a lot of information to learn. It's not just flying the drone. It's the legalities and restrictions that you have. Having to know what's going on in your airspace, traffic patterns, holding patterns, other types of airspace, to be able to know what's going on. You can't just grab a remote, fly a drone up, take some pictures. You need to know where you're at. If you're in restricted airspace, how close you are to an airport. Are you in a traffic pattern? If you are, where the airplane's going to be coming from. In case there's aircraft, because it doesn't take much for a drone to get ingested into a jet engine and you have a large tragedy on your hands. So FAA is really working with people to incorporate drones into the national airspace, but it's going to take a lot of effort on everybody's part to make sure it's done safely. So, you've got a lot of utility management companies. A lot of companies are getting involved. There's a company called Precision Hawk. They're out of North Carolina. Precision Hawk CEO was for a while was a CEO for Red Hat, and in August 2015, he became the CEO for this company. The company's based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. This is how quickly the industry is evolving. It was 2016 is when the first regulations on commercial drone operations were put into play, because the technology was getting to the point where they could be used for commercial operations. Now, Precision Hawk was founded in 2010, so they were an early adopter of this technology. They understood that industry is going to be revolutionized. So 2015, Bob Young takes over as the founder of Red Hat as the CEO. Shortly after that, a lot of other companies started putting in investors into this company. Intel, DuPont, Verizon, Yamaha, USAA, NTT. These are all companies that put money into this industry. And there's a reason for that. In 2018, once again, they ended up purchasing a company called Droner.io. Droner.io allows commercial drone pilots to post their companies online. People need work done, they can go there, and then they get people that bid on it. So it's a way for people like me to be able to bid on jobs and get commercial work. And so Precision Hawk actually purchased Droner.io. Droner.io, part of that acquisition, they actually bought 5 companies in 2018. They raised $75 million of capital to buy these 5 companies. The companies that put in funding were led by Third Point Ventures, and participation from a number of investors, including Intel Capital, Comcast Ventures, Verizon Ventures, NTT Ventures, Senator Ventures, Yamaha Motor, Constellation Technology Ventures, and Syngenta Ventures. Syngenta is a large agricultural corporation that deals with seeds, pesticides, herbicides. So obviously they put money in for the aspect of agricultural use for drones, which is becoming huge. So there's a lot of different stuff that's happening right now that's kind of revolutionizing industry, and that's what we're looking at. So I kind of wanted to go over, show everybody what's going on, who we are, what we actually provide. So there's going to be a series of videos coming out, and they're going to showcase a whole lot more. This is just kind of the beginning. Quick overview, show the capabilities of stuff, how these inspections go. So thank you for watching. I hope you subscribe, and we're going to have some really good content coming up in the future.